Hey guys, back again. So, just a little disclaimer, I already finished the third part, but as I was checking the videos, I didn't like the way the second part was. So, in case you see the time here and you see something different, well, I'm just going to restart the second part, which I do have recorded here, okay? So you can see, and I'm just going to do as I see here, just to make everything kind of fit together. So yeah, I didn't like how I finished that, how I and since it was going to be a pain just to record that, or I mean to fix that, well, yeah, let's just do it again. And yeah, so this is how I'm going to do it. So the first thing we did there is to add all the selectors that we need. So when using querySelector, we need to specify or a class or a ID. Okay, you can see this is an ID and this is a class. So we're going to get the slider, which is the class slider, the slider content, which is the slider dash content, the subtitle, which is the ID subtitle. I missed a dot there, so let's add that because that is a class. The description, which is the ID description, the loader, which is the ID loader, and the slide left and slide right on each respective constant. Okay, so that's the only thing we're doing there. We are just grabbing what we have here in the HTML. Okay, so what's next? So now you might need to import if you don't have your functions.js. Okay, so we generate a script and we pass the function.js, which is our file we have here. Now we will need to link our style sheet, which is using the link relationship style sheet href main CSS or the file name that you specified here, and in this case type text CSS, although it's not needed anymore, I think. So after that we will need to start adding the functionality. So I think I know where to go from here. So we need this constant data, which is going to be an array of objects. So each object is going to have a source, not like this, but a source and well, it's going to have the next properties: source, which is going to be a string, and h2, which also is going to be a string. And I know I'm kind of treating this like Angular or TypeScript, but we are going to pass the information in these strings. Okay, so now let me just copy this one, rename, copy and paste that JPG. So let's say first slider, and let me just copy the lorem ipsum. Okay, and let's save that. So this one is the first object inside this array. So let's just copy it and say second slider, third slider, and fourth slider. Okay, so we have that. Now this is the array that we're going to use in order to change this count, which is going to be equal to 0 right now because the array is 0 index. So we're going to take that as our count. Okay, so the 0 in this case is going to be the first one. Okay, so now let's add a semicolon there. We need to create the functions, which are the start of the slider. So let's say constant start equals to a function. I'm using the arrow function. So now we're going to say for the slider that we defined, okay, which is here, which is the slider, this slider, okay, we're going to find or set the style of the background image, okay, to be equals to, we need to use backticks here, to a linear gradient. And now we specify the next values. So let me just copy that and paste it and just move a little faster with this. So it's going to have the direction to right. So it's going to be this one on the left and this one on the right, and it's going to move the transition to the right. Okay, so it's going to, yeah, it's going to have that effect of moving the gradient to the right. So after this, we need to set the URL of the, as we're setting the background image, we're setting two backgrounds. The first one is going to be the linear gradient, which is going to be on top, and the second one is going to be the actual image that we want to use. Now we set this with, since we're using backticks, we set a variable here, which is going to be data count. Remember that count right now is 0, and we need to specify the source of that. So at this point, count is 0, is the first one, and we're going to grab the source of the first one, okay? That's it for that. And then we're going to set the subtitle and description values next using the same structure, the data count. Remember that data is an array, and count is going to be the number which is going to be passed, and it's going to be the reference of the object that we are going to grab inside that same array. So we're going to grab the h2 and the paragraph for those two, those two values inside each specific object that we want to handle. So as we move on, it's going to be 1, 2, 3. So it's going to be 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay. But we're not going to use inner HTML because we're going to use a text content. Why not inner HTML? Because inner HTML, what it's going to do is going to allow us to set HTML inside that. So you could just set a script there and it's going to work, okay? Now, if we set text content, everything is going to be marked as text, so everything is going to be a string. So we're going to just skip that ability to, or avoid the ability to add HTML inside that element, okay? So that is why we're using that. Okay, so at that point, everything is set. So let me just check this. I know this is kind of odd, but I didn't like how I set all this. Okay, you can see that I added the images and I copied the sources. Okay, I forgot something actually. That's nice. It's nice that I saw that because we need that images, because we're specifying that we want from this directory on which we are currently, we want to find the images and then the image that we want. So that's actually fine. We just paste that. Okay. Okay, so as you can see, we set again the background image as we did. Now I explain a little bit about the text content, and then we move to the next part, which is adding the event listener. Okay, again, what I'm doing this in case you just tune in, well, or you move from to the middle of the video in, for some reason, then because I didn't like how that ended or how I finished that video, so I'm just recording that even though I finished already the record or the recording of the full project. So now we're going to say document that add event listener. So I'm saying DOM content loaded. So why I'm using DOM content loaded, and I don't see many people using this, even though This is a kind of beginner, not so beginner tutorial, but DOM content is going to allow us to see the full printed DOM in the browser. Okay, so we're going to wait until all that needs to be printed here, the elements. So let's go to elements, and all this is going to be printed, as you can see, and we're going to wait for all these to be printed for us to reach without any problem the classes that we specify. This is just the functions, but the classes and IDs we specify. Okay, so that is actually pretty important. Now the thing is that we're going to set a specific time of action. So first is going to take the set time is going to take first a function and then separated by a comma the time we specify for this to work. What we're going to do here is to say loader that style that display equals to none. So none is something special, because if we set display to none, then the accessibility tools for people that are blind or have any other problem won't find this in the DOM. Okay? So if you hide a link with display none, then they will not be able to find it. Okay, so if you want to hide something, just set the opacity or set the position to be something pretty weird, so it's outside of the view. Okay, and not display none. So as we're setting display none here, that means that we really don't care if this is set for those kind of I forgot the freaking word, but we don't care if that is not seen, because this is just the loader and it's not important in that case. So we still don't have the classes. We will set that. You can see that I have this empty. Now we're going to set the display again, not display but display again, for the slider to be blocked. Why? Because we're going to hide the slider by default in a second with CSS. Now we're going to set the arrow left that style that display equals to block again, and arrow right that style that display again block. Okay, so everything is going to be hidden by default with CSS, and you can see after 2 seconds it's just going to hide that. It's going to say display none, and it's going to say okay, so we are done with that, and it just hides the loader. But remember that display none is going to remove everything from the DOM, okay, that you set as display none, as if it is not written inside the HTML. Okay, so that is a special thing that you need to be considered every time you hide a link with CSS, setting the display to none. Okay, and then we just set the function start that we just defined here, which is going to say okay, set the background image to the slider, which you can see we don't have anything inside the h2 or description or even inside the background. Set the first gradient, or set the first background to be the gradient, and the second one, which is going to be below that, to be the image that we want to display here with the source. Now set the subtitle and description to whatever we have on these two properties inside the object. So if we save this and we move, you can see we get now the printed values. Okay, so Yeah, I think that's okay. Just let me check out. As I said, this is going to be weird because I spent a lot of time explaining something that it wasn't even the matter of the video. So I just decided to move on and to record this back again. And you can see that we finished with the same thing here. It was a video of 25 minutes. Okay, but I still need to do something. No, I didn't change even those. So now you can continue with the next part and yeah, I finished the project. So let me just take a little preview of this. Everything is working fine, so I don't have the event for that. And okay, we're hiding that. Okay, so now everything is out of sync because we still need to handle the arrows and the CSS of that. So in case I miss something, just let me know in the comments for this or the next video. Okay, so I just answer your doubts. So that's it, guys, and see you in the next one.